We start this series off at school, where the students are watching a movie between heroes and villains. However, our main character Yodaka doesn't care about it as he is in his own mind and scribbles in his notebook. The teacher asks him if he is even paying attention to the movie, but Yodaka straight up tells her that he isn't, as he doesn't care about all that hero stuff. The teacher gets mad and tells him that there's nothing wrong about their heroes, but Yodaka tells her to think about it, and that they only win because of their sheer numbers, and then they boast about winning, saying that they are nothing but a bunch of cowards who can't fight unless they band together. The teacher tells him that even the enemies fight together with their allies, but Yodaka tells her that those aren't their allies, but their servants, and that they're like an extension of them, something they acquired through their own strength, continuing and saying that it's the villains who face the heroes by themselves, who are the noble and powerful ones, and yet they always lose, calling it a script they have to follow. Suddenly someone puts up their hands, and he asks Yodaka if he can quiet down, as he wants to continue watching the movie. So Yodaka goes back down. Someone tells the guy that he was a bit harsh, and that they feel bad for Yodaka now. Anyway, the movie then ends, and the teacher says that this movie was made with the help of real-life heroes, telling them all to be thankful to the hero organization and the heroes for protecting their daily lives. The clock then rings, and they start to walk out, when suddenly, someone called Mimosa taps on Yodaka's desk. She tells him that she gets where he is coming from, with the villains being cool, but considering her position, she shouldn't say such things out loud. Yodaka just looks at her before her friends call her over and she leaves. Yodaka then walks to the restroom, where he is cleaning his hands. Suddenly, he tells someone that they can come out now and calls them Goat. We then see a huge-looking monster appear around Yodaka. The goat says that it was so cramped in there before calling what happened before a disaster. Yodaka agrees, and the goat says that the guy who told him to be quiet also called Subaru. He is as annoying as ever, saying that he doesn't know if he is some kind of heir of some important guy or something, but that he is cocky. The goat then gets a bit giddy as he says that Mimosa is still such a sweet girl. Yodaka says that he guesses, and that she's a little better than those simpleton classmates of his. The goat then gets close and asks if Yodaka should make her his aide, but he just laughs and calls it foolish. Suddenly, some other classmates walks out of the stalls, and they wonder who Yodaka is talking to before they calls him weird, saying that he was probably talking to his imaginary friends. We then get out of school, where we see the goat and Yodaka walking together. Yodaka tells him that he isn't his imaginary friends, and that he has no need for friends, calling him more of an imaginary servant. The goat then asks if that means that he acknowledged the imaginary part. Yodaka just says that he suddenly appeared before him one day, saying how he is the 37th ranked demon of the lowest circle of hell, and that he is in search of a master, and that he wanted to be a subordinate of Yodaka, someone who lives alone his life. Suddenly, as he is continuing to walk, something is about to fall on top of him. But just then, Mimosa, in what looks like a rabbit costume, comes and saves him, asking if he is hurt. After that, more heroes arrive, and someone apologizes for putting Mimosa in danger, but that they are heading back now. Mimosa leaves, but tells Yodaka that she will see him later, and that she is glad that he is safe. The goat just says that if Mimosa hadn't arrived, then he would have been dead meat, but Yodaka tells him to shut up. We then get explained that in this world, there are people who have superpowers. There are some who can run incredibly quickly, some who are unfathomably strong, and even some who can excrete matter-dissolving fluids. Some use their powers for evil, while some use theirs to keep those people in check. These are the people they call villains and heroes. Yodaka then lies on his bed and says that if he had some kind of powers, then he would make the world a better place, saying that the current heroes gang up but still can't even catch a single burglar, and wonders what's the point of having them around. The goat says that he is acting all high and mighty, even though he just got saved by one. Yodaka says that there are those petty crooks who go around and rob banks and such, and so many people the world would be better without, and he would be the one to defeat them all by relying on nothing but his own powers. And he would be feared as the lone, noble, and most powerful, as the greatest of all villains. The goat then asks Yodaka if he isn't going to get some powers first, but Yodaka just laughs and says that he obviously will. He then picks up a box where he has a stone he picked up back in elementary school. The goat says that it's the one he picked up while loitering around because he didn't want to attend class. Yodaka just asks who cares about that, and says that this green sheen is definitely one of those meteorite fragments that hold hidden power within them. He looks at it and says that if he uses this, then he will for sure gain power. The goat then asks him why he doesn't use it, but Yodaka tells him that there's no need to rush things and that he has to have a clear vision first. He then sees that his notebook is gone. The goat tells him that he left it during class, and Yodaka rushes over, and the goat tells him that he is dead the moment someone reads what's written inside. He then gets into the classroom and sees Subaru with the notebook. He tells Yodaka that this fell off his desk, but Yodaka just asks him if he looked inside. Subaru thinks that he didn't and that he couldn't care less, and he then walks away. Yodaka then gets home, and the goat tells him not to worry about it. The goat then tells him that the reason Subaru is so confident is because he's got all those guys swarming around him, and that he doesn't care about what regular people, those without superpowers, have to say. Yodaka says that he is spot on. The goat then tells him that Yodaka still has the stone, and that the moment he decides to use it, he can change everything, telling him that there's no need for him to mingle with those people, as he is powerful all by himself. We then get to the next day where the teacher tells them that today, they will be exploring their city's very own history museum, saying that even though it's the same trip they always plan for their middle school second years, it will still be fun. The goat asks Yodaka if they should skip and chill somewhere else, but Yodaka says that if they do that, then he will just end up worrying about what happened yesterday. But suddenly, as he is walking past a couple of stairs, he can hear something coming from there, and Yodaka decides to go and investigate. The goat asks him if something happens, but Yodaka just asks the goat if he is scared. But just then, he walks into the room and sees somebody's lifeless body hanging, and then suddenly, a man comes behind him and melts his phone, asking if he is scared now. A couple of more guys comes, and they ask what they should do with Yodaka, but someone tells the other to just keep him hostage. He tells Yodaka not to think about running away, because if he does, then he will grab him and melt him down. They then wonder if they can demand a ransom for Yodaka, and they tell him to contact his parents. Yodaka doesn't answer, which annoys them, but they then ask him if he is a meteorite orphan. They then start to feel bad for Yodaka, but Yodaka then spots an emergency alarm, and he takes a deep breath before he turns around and slaps one of them right in the face, and he runs towards the alarm. However, as he gets there, he realizes that he can't open it as it's broken, and that he needs to melt it. He then picks up his stone and wonders just how he can use it, but he then realizes something truly sad, which is that this is just a shiny rock, and that Yodaka just didn't want to accept the truth. He gets on the ground and starts to get sad, as he wonders just what he's supposed to do now. He then calls out for the goat, but Goat doesn't respond with anything back, and that's when reality really hits him, as he says that Goat was never there to begin with. He then picks up a metal pipe and is getting ready to fight them off, who looks to have gone invisible for now, as we can only hear them. We then get into a flashback, where a doctor asks him how he is feeling, telling him to please get some rest. He then overhears some other doctors asking if he still isn't getting discharged, but someone else says that they need to monitor his condition. They say that he can't even play around with other kids and think that he must feel lonely. But then he picks up some sort of comic and sees a hero saying that he is fine working alone because he is not as weak as the others. Yodaka thinks that this sounds really cool, and he says that he wants to become like him one day. We then get back to real time, where Yodaka tells himself that it's going to be alright, and that he has come this far by doing everything himself, saying that he isn't pathetic, and that he isn't like those guys who can only survive in groups. Just then, the other masked men comes to Yodaka, and they asks him why he is looking at them with such an angry expression. One of the masked man then pulls out a shiny stone similar to the one Yodaka has, and he says that with this, even ordinary people can gain a superpower, saying that it's pretty rare to find one of this. He swallows it, but his friends then comes and tells him that he shouldn't do that, but the man says that it feels so amazing. And he asks Yodaka if he wants to know something else, which is that the thing he loves to do the most is melting smooth, flawless, and beautiful things. For example, people like Yodaka. And we then see that the man has turned into a complete monster, with some sort of hot thing all around him and melting everything around him. Yodaka then starts to laugh and says that the guy is Yodaka's favorite as well, and says that he will be able to witness the biggest highlight one could ever dream of. We then get back to his classmates, where they say that they can't find Yodaka anywhere. The teacher says that he does usually stay away from other people, but Mimosa says that she's worried about him. But then suddenly, as they are talking, we can see Goat coming out of the wall and holding the sticky man in his hand. But that's far from everything, as we also see Yodaka, who's now gotten his very own costume, and he laughs manically. The Goat is surprised and asks what is going on, but Yodaka tells him that today is his birthday, not to mention his as well. The sticky man tries to get loose, but Goat tells him that he stings and asks him to stop. But Yodaka then commands Goat to throw him into some sort of wall, which Goat does right away. Yodaka is blown away by all of the things he can do now, and suddenly he spots Subaru, who with big eyes thanks Yodaka, thinking that he is someone else. Yodaka then throws an object at him and tells him to be quiet. We then get back to the sticky man, whom the Goat has once again grabbed into his hand. The man tells him that he will at least hit Yotaka, so he spits out his sticky thing towards him, but Yotaka just laughs and says that he is invulnerable thanks to this armor of his, and just asks the man if that's all that he's got. He then commands the goat to let him go, which he does. Yotaka tells the guy that this all happened thanks to him, telling him that he is truly grateful to him and that he will now make the world a better place. Whether it's those worthless heroes or pathetic villains, he will defeat them all, using only his own strength. The guy asks Yotaka if they aren't allies, but Yotaka tells him that he is just his servant, and he then picks up a huge statue and puts it right on top of the man, smashing him right into pieces. Everyone looks at this in school, but Yotaka then sees a flower on the ground, so he picks it up and gives it to Mimosa, who blushes but is super confused. Yotaka then leaves and is super happy as he laughs with all that he can, saying that he won without anyone's help and that everything will be alright from now on because he can finally live on his own. He looks so happy, but the goat then asks Yotaka if he still doesn't have any desire for normal friends and a girlfriend as well. Seeing how Yotaka handed her those flowers, the goat tells Yotaka that he never managed to make friends, nor get himself a girlfriend, which is why he decided that he would want to live all alone, but he doesn't want other to make fun of him for being alone. Yotaka just asks him what he knows, but the goat then tells him that he is inside him after all, and that he can truly comprehend why he is jealous of those popular heroes and their allies. Yotaka tells him to be silent, but the goat tells him that he can't do that, and they then just have some back and forth between each other before the goat suggests doing and defeating some heroes, or even villains.